How we doing, gang? Charlie Coiner here. I'm the owner of First Down Playbook and also a 30-year coach. And welcome to Youth Football Chalk Talk number 10. And we'll get started, just like Kendall's been saying, here right at 9 o'clock. Just want to talk to you a little bit about some of the ways we do this. We've got a lot of return coaches here, which that always makes us feel good, but we've got some new folks as well. I'll go through probably about 25, 30 minutes talking about the youth football passing game. Obviously, we're not going to hit on everything. It's a pretty broad topic this week. But at the same time, I think probably the smarter version of a passing game at the youth level is one that keeps it pared down and focuses on the fundamentals anyway. But we'll do that. We ask that you hold all your questions to the very end. And then at the end, we'll take those and we'll go from there. But our goal here tonight, once again, this will be number 10. We've gone through the offensive side and the defensive side. And what we'll do is we will just really focus tonight on the passing game. Now, at the end of this, any question that you have offensively, defensively, we've already got a few questions in here, I think, already tonight. And so, we'll talk about that when we get there. But feel free to ask anything. This is for you. This is what we try to do to help out any youth football coach that is willing to come on here and listen to us. So tonight, gang, we're talking about the passing game at the youth level. And once again, when you start talking about the passing game at this level here, you're going to have to be realistic. And anybody that's been a part of the coaches community site where we blog every day, and the majority of those blogs that go on there come from me. And I'm a firm believer that at the youth football level, you've got to be very careful about what you do on offense when it comes to throwing the football, because if you don't, you're going to run up against a football coach that's going to take a look at what your quarterback can do, and more importantly, what your quarterback cannot do, and they're going to expose you if you're out there running spread formations all over the field that your quarterback can't get the ball to. And you might say, well, why would anybody spread the field out if the quarterback couldn't get the ball out there? Well, it's just, you're going to run into, and I'm just going to take this. I've got this here for protection, but I'm going to flip this here just for a second. All right. Because typically in youth football, what you run into is you run into a defense will just cover down whatever you put out there offensively from a formation. But not everyone's going to do that. If somebody realizes that you've got wide outside here, you're playing with four wides and your quarterback can't get the ball out there, a smart coach is going to start splitting the difference and just rally to these throws right here. So I don't want to get started with that, but I just want to point out that a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight, the reason it's going to seem pretty simplistic to you is that I believe that the youth passing game is all about this player right here. If your quarterback can stretch the field, then you're going to get a different defense, all right, than you are if you're playing youth football and he can't stretch the field with his arm. Because you're going to get, if you're playing for a younger quarterback, you're going to end up getting defenses that look like this: a 6-2, a 4-4, a 5-3 with the safeties down, playing pure man coverage across the board. So having said that, you need to be smart about what you're going to be doing with your quarterback. So I'll start it off there. But what our goal is tonight is I'm going to go very slow through the positions, meaning the offensive line, the running backs, the receivers, and the quarterback, and talk to you about some very basic fundamentals that I think are important when you start to coach the passing game at the youth level. Now, I've got this drawing up here. I'm going to start talking about protections first. Now, being a part of the NFL, and I'm just going to go here to the varsity deal, being this is still a gap protection I'm going to talk about tonight, but I've been a part of any kind of protection you can think of. An empty protection where you've got sights off on one side, hots off another, you're double sifting. It's the difference in the best offensive line coaches in the world are how they pass protect, not how they run the power. And so pass protection can be extremely, extremely complex. And that's why you see all these crazy defenses in the NFL and college and trying to confuse offensive lines. And so, but the one thing that most offensive line coaches will always take into the game plan and that's at any level, in case things get crazy, they'll always take a gap protection into the game plan. All right, so for that reason, and you're looking at a gap protection scheme from the varsity level right here. So what exactly does a gap protection mean? All it means is that your offensive line is going to gap one way or the other. They're going to gap back to the left, as is the case here, or they'll gap back to the right, all right, if we were to flip this play. Now, as you can see, this gap protection right here is a, and I don't have it in edit mode, but it's an intelligent gap protection. In other words, you don't see this guard right here gapping back hard on air. You see that guard helping with that 3 technique with his right hand, and this tackle coming down, and they're gapping down, all right, into the B gap looking for that Mike. You don't see this center, the center's coming down hard because he's got somebody in the A gap. Once again, this guard has got his right hand on that tackle, and he's aware that if that Mike backer comes in the B gap, he's got him. So this is a complex gap protection that at all levels. In the NFL, you'll see it at least one offensive line play in every game for every team. All right. Now, this is a youth football gap protection. Now, you've got the same situations here, but let's say you're coaching 7, 8, 9-year-olds. They may not have the concept of, I need to give a little help here on this end, all right, and then make sure that that backer, if that backer comes through, I've got to get him. Okay, so what a great way of teaching really gap protection at the youth level is just to have everybody up front using the same technique, and it is a pure gap protection. In other words, this Y is going to gap protect in the C gap. This tackle is going to gap protect in the B gap. This guard is going to gap protect in the A gap, on and on and on. This would be, in the way that you would call it, you would make it a Liz in this case, or if you flip this play, you could make it a rip when everybody's going to the right. It could be, there's a different words, Roger, red, Larry, blue, whatever system you want to use. But essentially it tells everybody to gap protect back. And what you typically want to do is if you have a back, you want the back to go opposite, because the edge out here is going to be short. If this tight end blocks down the end, this backer has a short edge. And so you want to make sure that your back, if you have one of them in there, goes opposite. If you've got two, you might want to get the back out to the side that you're gapping, and once again, protect on the backside with the back away from the gap. Now, the older your players get, the better you get at coaching it, then yes, what you can do is you can start telling this tackle right here. If you're not blocking anybody there, all right, you can always give a hand, your right hand here, but keep your eyes in here. And why does he have to keep his eyes in here? Well, he has to keep his eyes in there for backer blitzing. He also has to keep his eyes in there if this tackle loops across that guard's face, because this guard right here, if he steps down hard and there's a loop right there and that tackle's off the line of scrimmage, that's where you can end up getting penetration and pressure from the defensive line pass rush. Now, loopers and things like that typically can't get to the quarterback, all right, if the quarterback's doing the right thing and the type of play that we're going to talk about tonight. But still, it's just important that as you're talking about gap protection, talk about it, I think, this way first, and then get to this right here where you're talking about feeling presence of where there's where there's defenders, because this could be a 5-3, it could be a 4-4, it could be whatever. Now, what is the technique? And we're going to talk about technique for every position tonight. We're going to talk a lot about technique at the receiver position. And I know you're going, how can you do that, without actually having video and all that? Well, two things I want to point out. One is you can do it if you just, listen to use your eyes and your ears through this. The second thing is, I just want to point out that next year at this time, we will be offering exactly that. We're going to be offering all of the schemes and all the things that we talk about here on the Youth Football Chalk Talk, but we're going to begin to incorporate demo videos and fundamental and technique videos, which will just fit perfectly into what we're already doing. But if I'm the offensive line coach right here, I think you probably heard what I said at the beginning. Everybody needs to use the same technique. Now, as you come up here and you're the offensive line coach, and you're playing this defense, and you tell the guard, if there's always somebody in that gap, then common sense, scoot your gap down a little bit, tighten your split down a little bit. If there's nobody there, you don't have to be as worried about it. So that's one of the things you can talk about. Have smart splits when it comes to your offensive line if you go gap protect. Now, really, there's two types of gap protection. If you were gap protection at a higher level, what you would do is you would typically tell these offensive linemen to set hard inside with their inside foot up. In other words, be powerful with your inside hand, powerful with your inside foot, and really just keep active feet and keep coming down, keep coming down. Now, at the NFL level, I've had players come at this position right here, all right, that did not know anything about pass protection. So I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope that you're going to have great technique here with 7, 8, 9-year-olds, but I do believe that if you teach the same thing, in other words, keep the left foot up here, keep the left foot up, and just shuffle down, punch anything in your gap. Don't let anything through your gap. Center, punch to your left. Get your left foot in front of your right, to where what you're doing is you're powerful with your left hand, powerful with your left foot, powerful with your left hip. Out here, same thing, but the only thing that's different, now they're going to their outside, left, left, left. And obviously, if you flipped it, all the technique would be the opposite. Now, if you don't feel like you can teach that, there's nothing wrong with, on the snap of the ball, everybody can actually turn 45. Now, that's exactly opposite of what I just said. I understand that. Where if you turn at 45 to the left right here, your offensive tackle is going to have his left foot is going to be back and his right foot's going to be a little bit ahead. But if you do that, now you just got to keep active feet, and you got to be very aggressive to anything that shows up. But what I don't think you can do at the youth level, really at any level, if you're going to gap protect here, don't have different techniques across the board. Don't have some of them with their left foot up and some of them with their left foot back. So keep the same technique. The big thing, though, at the end of the day, you're talking to your offensive line. Nobody comes through your gap. Nobody comes through your gap, and then make it more sophisticated as you go. Now, the back here, the thing you always talk to your backs about, on the snap of the ball, they've got to be aggressive. They've got to meet force with force, because if this backer comes and they set back here and wait on him, and that quarterback takes a drop, you got a bad, that's a bad junction point. That's not going to work for you. But if if the backer's coming, your back's aggressive, which is going to put him or her up here, that's the way it's supposed to look. That's the way you get a pocket for him, even at the youth football level. And so what you want to do is really the same thing with this technique. When the ball is snapped, you want this player to be aggressive, keep active feet, and you want them to talk about make the linebacker, make the end, go around the outside. All right? The aiming point should be this player's inside number, inside armpit, and inside shoulder pad. Make them go around the edge, because if they go around the edge, all right, then this ball should already be gone with the passes we're going to talk about. Now, you can't just give them a free route around there. You still have to move your feet, all right, and just try to make them run as wide as they can. But that's the fundamentals right there with the pass protection. All right, now let's go to, we already talked about this. I want to go to the receivers here. And I just want to show you, first of all, in First Down Playbook, this is just the youth level passes. We have over like 8 or 9 pages of passing plays at the youth level alone. And I'm going to show you the varsity. There's thousands of those. But depending on what age you're coaching, you may want to just stay right here. All right, but the one thing that you can find, if you've got a First Down Playbook varsity and youth membership or our premium membership, is that you've got route trees. We've got a route tree. The way we do it at First Down Playbook, we do one for the outside receiver, one for the slot receiver, one for the tight end, and one for the running back. All right, so what we're going to use tonight is we're going to use the wide receiver route tree. And I'm going to talk to you about some fundamentals. And if I pause, it's because I'm looking at my notes. I made notes here today because I really think that at this level, this is where you can really start developing. And if we got some flag football coaches on here, this is for you too. I mean, from a standpoint of how you're coaching the routes, how you're coaching receivers, there's no difference in how you're going to coach a flag football or flag football receiver and a tackle football receiver. Just isn't. All right, now, the one thing I want to point out that if you're talking to any receiver, in my opinion, the first thing that you should teach should be a go route. And here's why. Because everything should come off of a go route. Anybody that's been inside the first down playbook route tree knows that we always talk about sell the deep threat first, sell the vertical threat first, make the defender back up. So if you'll teach this first, and the mechanics of it at the line of scrimmage are really going to be no different than any other route. It's just that it's going to be the foundation for everything else you teach. Then you're going to be better off, because what's going to happen in a game, if you'll just have a quarterback that can take one step in the pistol or the gun, launch that ball up there, and you have somebody that can run by somebody, even if they don't catch it, you're going to make all the other routes that you try to run that day be more open. If you're sitting there and you're running a short route, all right, over and over and over, and you finally do the go route, it might work. But I'm telling you that the big thing is that you want to make sure that they always want to back up when they're playing you. And that way, your slant is going to be open, your in route's going to be open, your out route, your curl, your hook, your dig, everything will be open because your go route made it that way. All right, so let's look at the coaching points. Here are the things that I talk about when teaching receivers is, now you're going to see variations of this at the higher levels, but for the most part, all receivers have their inside foot up, okay? They're going to be in a 2-point stance, inside foot up, head turned in, looking at the ball. Now, you want them to get an idea out here what they're looking at as well. When the ball snaps, if they have press or if they have, what coverage it is and all that. But for the most part, for y'all, it's going to be man coverage. But you want to make sure that they look inside. They're not listening to the snap count. They're going to go when the ball is snapped. But their inside foot is up, all right, so that it times up with different routes that you're going to run. And I'll give you some examples of that here in a second. The main one would be the slant route, okay, that I'll show you here. But if your inside foot is up, most slant routes are run off of 3 steps. So if my inside foot is up, all right, it's going to be outside, inside, outside, bam, come inside on the slant and get underneath the defender. But for really the best reason as you're coaching receivers is that fundamentally it's going to help them so much if they start running their routes at a very young age, once again, with their inside foot up. All right, now, they want to push off of their up foot. In other words, you'll see this mistake that a lot of receivers will make. Picture the inside foot's up right here and the outside foot is back. What most of them will do is step in the bucket. Now, if you're coaching a 7 or 8 year old, they're going to step in the bucket the whole year. And all you want to do is try to get them to talk about the words mental pressure. As they get to be 11 or 12, they ought to get the concept of put mental pressure on your left leg here. In other words, if I've got all my weight on my left leg right here, when the ball snaps, it almost forces me to push off and not have a drop step. And that's going to come, that comes into, really it comes into a lot of NFL games. You see guys have wasted steps and all that. So the mental pressure should be on the inside. When you release, all right, you want to release either straight up the field if you don't have any defender that's in front of you that's obstructing you. You might ask them to inside release. Why would you have inside release? Maybe to buy some real estate on the outside out here. You might have them even tighten their split and outside release so that they can buy some real estate when they're breaking in. But you want to talk to them about which way you want them to release. If they're really young, take my word for it, you just want them to release. Now, talk to your receivers about using their hands, all right? So right here is on a fade route. And let's say that you've got somebody pressed up in your face. All right, you can see where it's a little stutter right here till they go inside. But make sure your receivers understand that they have the right to use their hands when they release. They don't, if particularly in youth football, if you've got man coverage all the time and that defender is right up in his face, all right, tell your receiver that that's use the feet, but also use your hands to swipe them, swat them, club them, whatever you got to do to get by them right there. Okay, now, some other things to talk about is that, and then we'll go to a different route right here because this is all 9 routes. Let's pick a route where we got to straighten our stem out here. We've got quite a few routes in this area right here. All right, so let's go. Tell you what we'll do. We'll go with let's go with a seam four, or four routes here. Okay, so when you're talking about your release, all right, once again, whether you inside release or whether you straight release, the one thing that you want to always do is you want to make sure you straighten your stem, all right, and sell the vertical like I talked about before, but you also want to straighten the stem right here so that you don't want to be coming out crooked inside, crooked outside. That's hard for the quarterback to understand, where this guy's going to come out. But if he knows that receiver is going to come out at 18 to 20 in this case, if you're coaching younger kids, it's going to probably be like 10 or 12. But you want to straighten the stem so that the quarterback understands exactly where they're going to start coming out of their break at. Now, you can see we're rolling out of this right here. If I was coaching younger players, I'd never roll out of it, meaning left, right, left to come out of here. I would run up, plant my right foot, and make them dig straight across 10 to 12 yards. And so those are some of the things that you want to talk about, but you want to talk to them about. Always sell the deep ball. Sell that deep ball we were talking about. Put your right foot in the ground right here. Have a two-way go. It could be an out route or it could be an in route, but then plant and get inside. All right, now as you get to the top of your break right here, and you're coaching a young receiver, all right, tell them to keep their eyes straight ahead. They don't need to get their head turned first. All right. They do need to get their head turned first, but they don't need to start turning inside before they're ready to go. So what they want to do is they want to sink their butt, sink their hips at the top, put their right foot in the ground here. And then as they plant off of their right foot here, the first thing that does come around is their eyes and their head back to the quarterback. Okay. And so it's going to be something that you're just going to have to talk to your receivers about, get your head around, get your head around, get your head around. Now they're going to want to get it around too soon when you do that, but you want to sell the vertical first, get your head around. Now, as the ball starts coming to you, all right, let's say you could have a curl here. If you had a curl, talk about the angle that you want your receivers to come back to. If it's a curl, talk to them about coming right back to the quarterback. If it's a dig, tell them to come inside. Seam four, same thing. These are all four routes, so they're all going to be breaking inside. Now, as the ball is delivered, okay, to your receiver, and let me back up just for a second and say you can coach routes off of steps. In other words, you could tell the receiver here, you want to make this off of your fourth outside step, or you could coach it off of yards, or you could even coach it off of a clock and say, I want you to run this at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock. That's where I want you to come out of your break. That's up to you. Just try to be consistent with your receivers. Now, as they come out, all right, and they get their head around, some of the fundamentals of playing wide receiver are that if the ball, and let me get back, we'll stay with the dig here, but if the ball is above the waist, okay, and you're working back to the quarterback, then you want your thumbs together. And all the fundamentals that apply, they've got to get their head around, they've got to see the tip of the ball, look it in, thumbs together. If the ball's above the waist, pinkies together if the ball is below the waist. And you want to look at the tip of the ball, you want to secure it, and then at some point you want to talk to them about after they secure it, now it becomes yak, yards after catch. Transition is a big word. What's transition? Transition is when you go from being a receiver, the ball is thrown to you, you look it in, you've secured the ball, now you're not a receiver, now you're a running back. Transition from a receiver to a ball carrier. And if you're playing against a zone team, which you won't be very much as a youth football league, a youth football coach, but if you are, you want to teach them to split the zone, get upfield. Don't run side to side versus zones, because you know what? When you run out of this zone, there's somebody over here in this zone, and he's probably waiting to hit you. And you don't want to, you want to get up the field. If you're playing against man coverage all day, then yeah, when you catch this dig and secure it, you can get, run away from man, split zone. So win with speed versus a man coverage team. That's what you're going to have mostly there. So just some fundamentals that we're talking about. And once again, I'm going to go back and just point out, and I'm going to go back to route trees here. Because even if you're at the youth football level, go in, you can see we've got a wide receiver route tree, a slot route tree, a route tree for the tight ends, and we also have a route tree for the running backs even. All right, now let's get going a little bit more here and pick up the pace some. Let's look at just some, and we're back on the youth football field here. You can see, once again, I say this every week, we draw our youth football players really big because we know that a lot of you are coaching younger players that you want to keep their attention. It's not to scale with the field right here. And sometimes that can be an issue in the passing game, but I don't think it will be as much for you guys and ladies that are coaching at the youth level, because you're going to be talking about 1 yard. You'll be talking about your splits, but mostly you'll still have, your 5-10 yards to run your routes off of. So what are some good ideas as far as running pass plays for the youth level? Well, let's start with drop back first, right? There's really 3-4 different ways that you can throw the football. Drop back is the first way. Now, I haven't talked at all about the quarterback right here, and there's tons of information out there. Not all of it's good, but about quarterback play. But essentially, what we talk about with the quarterback, mostly with the feet, are that we want to have a 1-step drop or a 3-step drop, right, or a 5-step drop. All right. And so what a 1-step drop is going to be is when you're in the gun, and this is really simulated at under the center. But if you're in the gun or you're in the pistol, a 1-step drop for a right-handed quarterback is taking the snap. All right. You want to go back with your right foot right here. You're turned facing the sideline with your body. Eyes are down the field, obviously, but it's 1 step and the ball's out. A 3-step drop would be right, left, right, and the ball's out. And a 5-step drop is right, left, right, and the ball's out. Now, when you're doing a quick game and you're under the center, it's going to be a 1-step drop. It's going to be a 3-step drop. If you're in the pistol or the gun, it'll be a 3-step drop. All right, so I'll say that exactly backwards. Let me get my bearings here. If you're under center, it's going to be a 3-step drop. If you're in a pistol, all right, or in a gun, it's going to be a 1-step drop. All right, so now let's look at what we got here. We got a good old-fashioned slant flat concept to each side. Now, the first thing when you get this is you don't want your quarterback to ever think that they're going to work both sides. They'll decide on this play right here what side they're going to work before the ball's ever snapped. What's going to make that decision for them? A couple things. One would be personnel. Where's my best player, that's matched up maybe against their least player. All right. The other might be, where is the sideline? If this ball's on the left, right hash right here, maybe the shorter throws over here. So all of those type of things come in, but you don't want your quarterback ever to look over here and then change your mind and come over here, because that's going to be an interception. Now, how would you read this? And I'm not going to get into depth of, you see how many windows I have opened up here, but really good old fashioned, that's what First Down Playbook does a good job of. As you get in here, we give you quarterback reads and coaching notes for every one of these. But what we teach here is we teach flat to slant. And so once you pick a side, let's say that we pick the side over here and the 2-back, if the 2-back is open, the ball is out. And that's not an easy throw now for a young player. So keep in mind that that comes into play here too. But if the 2 is open, the 1 will take a 3-step drop and get it out, or a 1-step drop if they're in a gun, get it out. If the defense expands and covers the 2, then you look to throw the inside route breaking. And so we've got this slant route being run at 5 yards. It could be right, left, right, and slant inside like we talked before. But really, it's that simple. Read it outside the in, all right, 1 to 2. If you were to go over here, same thing, 1 to 2. Now, here's a version of a 5-step drop, all right? 3, this quarterback here is in the pistol. It's kind of ambiguous the way we got him drawn, but he's in the pistol right here. And now it's really the same thing. You pick a side, and this is a curl flat. So you read the flat first. If the flat's opened up, you're going to throw the flat. If the curl defender widens to cover the flat, then you're going to throw the curl as they come back inside. Now you want to teach this curl route right here. Once again, we talked about it before. Push off, best release, sell the vertical, put your right foot in the ground, plant, come right back to the quarterback, show the quarterback your numbers. All right, if the ball's above your waist, catch it with your thumbs together. If the ball's below your waist, bend your knees, catch it with your pinkies together, catch the ball, transition, make yourself into a running back. And you can see every one of these has pass protection, all right, set up as a gap protector. Now, you don't always have to drop back to throw the ball. All right, so here's a run play. Here's a good old-fashioned power run play that we have drawn up probably from every formation in our youth section. Now, there are play action passes that you can run off of your run game at the youth level. Now, you might say, well, Coach, I thought you said you want to always gap protect. I do. Even if I'm going to run a play action with really young players, I am still going to gap protect. Now, as I get up to 11, 12-year-olds, I might, run play action and actually let the offensive line, actually have play action pass protection too. But just keep in mind, when that guard pulls, if this were pass protection and that backer blitzes, nobody's going to block them at your level. They're just not going to. So what we do is run the power, run the power, run the power. If we're going to run a play action pass off of the power, all right, then what we do is still stay with your gap protection up here, take both backs, understand that they both have to be aggressive. The 4-back will be off of the tackle's rear. The 2-back takes anything outside of that. And now you still got a good old-fashioned, really a curl flat concept over here to the strong side. But what it looks like to your linebackers, because you've been running the power, your 2-back can actually bend down and like he's taking the ball as he gets to the edge, and you got a chance of actually having the backer step up so you can throw your curl in behind them. So just a way that just because you run your power one way, you can still run a play action pass off of that, all right, and have a successful passing game. Now, some other ways that you can create ways for your quarterback to really not only get open, but get them outside the pocket a little bit, maybe make the throw a little easier. So here's an example of a lead play, an ISO play, all right, that you might be running during the game. So if you wanted to run a bootleg off of that, here's a good example right here, to where fake the play just like you've been doing it. Look at what the offensive line's doing. Same thing, gap protection. What are your backs doing? They're selling the fake, and they're going to pick up any leakage over here. Your quarterback wants to have a good fake, but then they want to boot opposite. And now you want to give them a simple read of really high to low. Z is high. Your Y blocks down a little bit, and that's in the coaching points over here. You'll see that when you read that. But he wants to block down and then slam release to the flat. And so the read goes deep to shallow, and then you got your F coming late. Some of you have rules where your quarterback can't run. If your quarterback can run, then really it goes deep, high to low, to late to the 3, and then go, go, go. Your quarterback runs if nobody's open. But once again, just a way to get your quarterback outside the pocket a little bit. Now, think about this. If you've got a younger quarterback and they don't have a strong enough arm yet, this is a really good way to get their body moving to the throw. And I'm a big proponent of that, particularly younger quarterbacks. And then finally, kind of the same thing we just talked about, and this is our youth football trips formation here, where you've got 3 receivers over here. This is a way just to sprint out. All right, now this is a little different protection where it's not gaps, but it's just really, it's called sprint protection, but it's kind of the same thing. Everybody is going to overset and be over aggressive to the sprint side. And you got your 2-back over here as well. Your quarterback will just take the snap, whether it's under center, pistol, or gun, open to this side. And really, if you're going to teach them fundamentally the right thing, they'll take 3 or 5 steps, and that ball will be gone either out here to the hitch or to the corner behind it. But just 3 ways. You've got your really 4 ways. You got your quick game, you've got your drop back game, you've got your play action pass game, you've got your boots and nakeds, and you got your sprint. Okay. Now, for you coaches that are wanting more sophisticated versions of what we're talking about here tonight, and I showed you over here. I showed you where there's a ton of passing game ideas for the really younger players. But if you come over here and you're looking for more ideas, just go to the varsity offense. And the way we even break it up here is differently. Go to passing game. And when you get in the passing game, coaches, we break them up. Drop back in one area, play action in another, sprint pass in another, boots and nakeds in another. We even break it up by concepts. If you're looking for all verticals or looking for quick game, and then we have red zone, and then you'll be playing against man coverage, and then the route trees actually live. This is where they live. But as you get into, each one of these areas right here, and I'll just go to concepts. If you're looking to feature your running back, and this is if you're getting, you've got 11, 12-year-olds and all that. So that is just another. And then once again, if you're interested in man protection, there's a protection section in the varsity part as well. So I am going to let Kendall tell you a little bit about First Down Playbook here, and then as she's doing that, y'all get your questions in, and then I'll answer your question. But Kendall, why don't you tell them a little bit about what we have here at First Down Playbook, and then we'll answer the questions here after you go through that for a couple minutes.
So as Charlie mentioned, the recording of this webinar, along with all of our past youth football Chalk Talk webinars, are inside First Down Playbook for our members. This one will be ready by tomorrow afternoon and can be found in the youth offensive section. If you are a youth football commissioner, please feel free to share this with some of your coaches. Again, you have to be a member now. We don't have any future webinars, but these will be on our website forever. I know a lot of you are already members, but if you aren't as familiar with First Down Playbook, we are the official playbook of USA Football. We have a database of over 35,000 plays, all with coaching points and player assignments for every position. All of our plays are editable using our play engine, or you're able to draw your own from scratch. And you can easily print wristband sheets right from your playbooks. We have both annual and 90-day season memberships available. Youth 90-day season memberships are $99.99, while annual subscriptions are just $199.99. And for joining us tonight, you can get 10% off using the coupon code that I'm going to send in the chat right now. And you can use it right at that link as well. And Charlie, we have our first question from Scott, and he asked, I coach a gifted 8-year-old QB who is throwing a perfect ball 35 yards. What shotgun or pistol formation would you recommend? I also have 3 talented kids who have very good hands.
Okay, Scott. Yeah, well, and that, when I started it out, that's exactly what I talk about, because I hate to, sometimes you are fortunate and you have that guy, that player. So let's go here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to, let me find, I'm going to try to find the right one, because what I do is I end up blowing these up each week and then need them. I'm going to go over here. We'll go into the youth section. Let's take a look. I think, Scott, you're saying they're throwing it 35 yards, and if they can do that, then what you're going to be able to do, it's going to allow you to actually spread the field a little bit. And so these are the First Down Playbook. And Scott, I don't know how old. Kendall, did you say how old they were? Did he say?
8 years old.
8 years old. Okay. Well, if they can do it, then what you should do is you should look at playing a little, maybe a little spread. And when you play spread, all right, what you're going to force, and right now you're just going to, this is some of the plays that are in spread. We'll go to all hook to start with. That you're going to force the defense to spread out. If they're going to cover you man for man, then what you're going to do is typically they're going to want to probably keep a free safety in the middle of the field, because if they don't, then you're going to run the football all over them. And so what's going to happen is that you're going to have a corner out here, a safety right, or a strong safety here, free safety here, probably have a linebacker bumped out here. And so, yeah, to me, I would run a formation something like this. Now, you're putting a lot of weight on this quarterback. I'm just going to say that, because there is a point to be made that you could play this, all right, a different way. They could play their corner right here, and they could play the backer right here, kind of play at the apex of each, and then rally to the throws. Now, if he's able to throw the deep ball, then good for you and good for him. But this would be the formation that I would go to. I wouldn't go get crazy with a lot of things you see on TV. This is a good traditional formation for an 8-year-old that could throw the ball well. Kendall?
So this question comes from Mary. Should my tight ends play in a 2-point stance?
And that's a good question. because, and I didn't talk about it, but no, what you want to do, and you're looking right here, and this is why, Mary, because sometimes a tight end can be a part of the protection, and so you want them to pretty much learn how to play. Now they want to play in a balanced stance. I talked in weeks prior to this, that your offensive line in the right-handed stance and the right foot's going to be back, left-handed, left foot's going to be back. Try to teach your tight ends to play in a balanced stance. It'll really help them down the road, because if in a balanced stance, they can block, all right? They can release outside. They can release inside. They can do a lot of things. They can even, they can run block. They can pass protect even. So you want to have them in a three-point stance. But at the same time, when you get here, and let's back out of this play right here. I don't know if we've got any in spread, but you want to make sure that you teach a tight end, Mary, how to release. That's an important part of playing tight ends. Because a lot of tight ends can't get off the line of scrimmage when they're actually involved in the route. And so some of these are spread right here. Let's see if I've got any in here. Right here. Here's a good one. It's a smash concept over here to the strong side. So now your tight end, once again, depending on what he has here, if he's got an outside technique, they probably will need the inside release to get out. If he got an inside technique, they're going to need the outside release to get out. And, it's just a deal where this is a very versatile position to play. Kendall, we have anything else?
Yes, another question from Scott. I was looking at the Power I, and in one of the coaching notes, it said that a companion play would be an ISO weak, but didn't see one for that formation.
Okay. Scott was in the Power I. All right, let's go look at it.
Said, sorry for all the questions, but I was also wondering.
No, Scott, that's what this is for. So we'll go to find a play. We'll go to varsity offense and Power I. And Scott, you bring up an excellent point. What we want to do with this is we want to grow and start marrying our plays to the play actions and everything. We've done some of that. You can look right here. If you're into a play, you can go to youth lead. This is a lead play. And if you tap on that, all the lead runs will come up, and then all the youth runs. And this one here is kind of a lead and a counter. So, but you're saying that you were over here in the Power, and we said what was it, Kendall?
It said that companion play would be an ISO weak, but didn't see one for that formation.
Okay. I'm looking. You might be right. Let me go to the next page and make sure. I just saw we have one to the strong side. I'll help you how to coach that up. Yeah, Scott, you're right. I think in general, what I'm, and it's me. I'm the one that drew these up. What I'm trying to say is you're running this Power right here, okay? One of the first things, and we're actually going to blog about it over the next couple of weeks in First Down Playbook. Some plays, Scott, come off of plays because they look alike, right? And so, but one of the big points I make for a youth football coach is to take your formations and make sure that you're attacking all sides of it. So if I'm running the Power right here, let me go find something that's running to the weak side. Go back over here again. What I would do if I were you, Scott, all right, is take, all right, like Bob weak is really the same thing as an ISO. Bob just means back on the backer. So if you look right here, what we're doing is we're giving it to the 3-back, okay, and we're leading with the 4-back. And the quarterback's handing it to the 3-back, and really we're just using the 2-back so the quarterback can come out and kind of fake around the side. But this is just like an isolation play. What you could take this play right here and edit it. This is one thing you could do. In other words, you just take this. It's not going to be a whole lot of difference in the blocking scheme. Now, because it's a 6-2, I'm just going to take the 3 out of here. Because this is a 6-2, then your isolation is going to end up being inside. All right, your quarterback's footwork will be a little different too if it's in the eye. But you could take this right here, do what you want to with a 3-back. But that would just be your ISO weak. Now, let's do this. Let's save that. We'll get out of here. I just want to show you. Let's look at a 5-3. You see how that 3-back and how that 4-back are wider here than they were in the 6-2. So picture, once again, edit this play, take the 3-back, all right, run them wide, kind of like you're doing a 2, but then you can just run an isolation to the weak side with your 2-back here. Or, Scott, this is, Bob is just another word for ISO, really. It's just back on backer, all right? And so isolation is really where you're isoing a fullback on a linebacker. So probably just as much as anything, I would just use this Bob weak play, but you could edit the play and use your 2-back so that it, ties maybe into better with your power. I hope that answers your question. Kendall?
So Scott also asked, wondering why there aren't many running plays in the wishbone that go to the tailbacks.
Well, that's a good question, but I think probably for the most part, in a wishbone, Scott, and I'm assuming you're calling the tailback the back in the middle, all right? But really, when you look at the wishbone and traditionally what a wishbone is, it's the same thing as a flex bone. All right, and I'm gonna take this one right. Well, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go back. Excuse me. I'm gonna go back and take the template. The guy at the point is really a fullback. All right, so traditionally, Scott, the fullback is I mean, edit this. The fullback is that guy that's a quick hitter. If you play this formation, sometimes this fullback right here, and I think that's who you're talking about, is really close to the quarterback. And so there's not a lot you can do with them. It's really a good thing to have option weak, option strong, maybe a double ISO. But for the most part, back in the days of Darrell Royal and everything, this was like your dive, your load, and your pitch on the option, right? All right, so now what's happened in college football and most high schools is they do it like this. All right, so now what you do is you end up getting the motion back, but you really kind of get the same thing. But the guy that's coming in motion is the one that's getting deep enough to where he's the guy that you end up tossing it to or running, counter back. Now, if you want to run a version of this, then yeah, you're going to need to back that back up right here because you're not going to be able to toss a sweep out of that back, where we've got him lined up anyway. We got him lined up, I think, with his helmet at 5, or maybe his toes at 5. All right, so that's for the most part why it is. But yeah, if you want to run some version, there's an inverted wishbone. People run this out of pistol. I see it every year. Quarterbacks in the pistol, and now you can highlight this back. But I really think for what we're trying to accomplish with the wishbone, this is going to be your lead blocker, your fullback, or your dive blocker for the most part on an option attack. Kendall?
So this question comes from Andrew. How would you throw it deep?
And that is a great question, and I touched on it at the beginning. I just want to point this out right here, that, and I'm going to use this varsity play here. I'm going to edit it just to point out and just make a point that don't get caught up in. Once again, these players are drawn to scale on the field, but if this quarterback's a youth quarterback and they take that snap, if you're throwing a deep ball, all right, a 9-route ball, and a 9 route is a number for a go route. The quarterback doesn't have to take a real deep drop to throw a deep ball. All right, that's the misnomer. That's what confuses a lot of youth coaches. They think, well, that's a long route, so he better take a deep drop out here to tie him up. No, this guy's job right here is to win at the line of scrimmage and to be open within 12 to 14 yards. This quarterback right here, if they're in the gun or if they're under center, should take 1, 2, 3 steps on a deep ball, let it go, put it out there, throw it up, let that guy run under. If he's already or she's already in the gun, and Scott, this is really, maybe for your quarterback who's 8 and really plays well, but have that quarterback take the snap in the gun or in the pistol, take 1 step, put that ball up and out, and let that receiver run under. Now, the reason I'm a big advocate of that is, first of all, you don't have to, that ball will be caught probably 12, 15 yards down the field. It doesn't matter as long as you're winning there. Now, if you do that enough and that corner is backing up, that allows you to have a complementary stop route off of that. So now about the time this Z drives off the ball and this corner backs up, he puts his right foot in the ground and just turns right to the quarterback. Now your quarterback does exactly the same thing footwork-wise. If they're in the gun, take 1 step and rhythm that ball out to that receiver. Now, Scott, you might be in a different situation. If I've got an 8-year-old and it's not as talented as your quarterback, I am going to cheat the split inside to make either the go route or my stop route work for me. You may be able to keep normal splits out here, all right? But always play to your players, all right? And if your quarterback doesn't have the arm to be throwing out routes or hitch routes out here, just bring them in here and do it. You don't have to use the whole field when you're playing with 8-year-olds. Kendall?
Those are all the questions we have.
Well, gang, this has been number 10 tonight. And honestly, it's been a learning experience for me as well. Once again, I'm a 30-year football coach, and you're always learning. You're getting better, you're getting worse. We hope we're getting better here at First Down Playbook, and I think we are. I want to point out, we talk about it here at the end of every webinar. There's an absolutely free demo out there where you not only can go look at First Down Playbook, but you can actually use it. We will continue to grow First Down Playbook forever. I mean, we're not in this for a year. We're not in it for 5 years. We're in this to continue to make it better. And the things that I was talking about earlier, we want to get this to where we have fundamentals, techniques, Mike Singletary talking about linebacker play and all those things. We're going to get there. But right now, I'll promise you this. If you're looking for some way to save yourself some time, have good coaching fundamentals behind the product of what you're actually going to, make your wristband sheets with or make your playbooks with, then you're not going to find anything that's going to help you more in First Down Playbook. But I want to thank you for some of you, and I recognize your names who have been with us for the majority of the 10 weeks. I'm humbled that you would do that. And if anybody has missed any of these, just spread the word that every one of these webinars can be found in First Down Playbook. So as we go into the youth football season, everybody be safe and coach them hard. If you ever got any questions, just send them to us, and we'll get an answer back to you within a reasonable amount of time. Thank y'all very much, and have a good night.